Hello, in this part I want to show you how to set up a group policy that only affects the client computers in the specific organization unit here. So we go to group policy objects here and say new, and we call this group policy object, for example, clients only, and say OK. Then we right click here and say edit, and now here I can change all the settings that should affect only the clients, for example. I can, for example, I go to Internet Explorer here, in the computer configuration, administrative templates, Windows components, and Internet Explorer. And then let's see what we have here now. We can, for example, disable showing the splash screen, for example, or disable the change connection settings. We can prevent changing proxy settings or prevent the user from changing the smart screen filter. So then, for example, we go to the bottom and say Windows Defender and turn off Windows Defender here. Windows Update and say configure automatic updates, and say enable, and say auto download and schedule the install, and also install during automatic maintenance mode. So okay, allow automatic updates, immediate installation, yes, and turn on recommended updates and turn on software notifications. Then we will look, for example, into the user settings here and say, for example, let's see regional settings, new regional options. I think this is appropriate here. Then we can go to folder options at least Vista, and let's display the full path. Here show all files, show menus. We disable the hide thing here, we launch it in a new process, and we disable the sharing wizard. Then we say apply and we check if it's saved here, yes. Okay. Then we could go to start menu, at least Vista. Okay, we won't see this really because we haven't really a start menu. Go to Internet settings, say new Internet Explorer 10, and go to, for example, to cnn.com, say apply. Okay. Okay, and then I will exit this here, and now I have to tell the group policy which organization unit should be affected. So as you see here, there is no location here. The group policy is enabled here. And there are the specific settings for Windows Update, for Windows Defender and Internet Explorer, and also our settings for the Internet Explorer here, and the regional and folder settings. If we right click here, we can also enable this group policy. We can make a backup, restore, import settings, save the report, copy it, delete it, rename it. But if we want to link it to computer organization unit here, we right click computer and say link an existing GPO. GPO stands for group policy object. So we say look in this domain and use this group policy here. And as you see here, this is now linked to computers here. And so before we will test this in the real world, I will show you another tool. If you go for, I hope this is installed here. If you go for rsop.msc, this shows you the resultant set of policies here. So here, this is something like a read-only version of the actual group policy objects affecting this computer where you start this program here, or this management console. And if I go here, I see the policies and from where they come from here. I see, for example, that the password complexity requirements are disabled here, and this comes from the default domain policy here. I can also look, for example, to the Windows components and Windows updates under the administrative templates in the computer configuration, and see here that it is enabled and notify for download and install here. If I right click here and say change query, I can use another computer and search in my Active Directory, for example, for the same thing for the client 2. I select here the client 2, say next. Okay, it's not available here. So I can't do this remotely, and I have to log into my second client here and do the same thing here. So now I see all the group policy that affects this computer client 2 here. So the default domain policy obviously is here. If you click here, the password complexity requirements, you see it's disabled by the default domain policy. So this works for your whole domain. If I go down to the administrative templates, Windows updates, and this one here, I see it's notified for download and for installing. And it comes from the default domain policy. We have set some other GPOs for this machine here on the other client too, but this will appear only if I reboot this damn thing here. So after the reboot, I re-log in. And now we will try this tool again. And we will also go to Administrative Templates, Windows Components. You see here that the Windows Defender is turned off. And this is set by the GPO clients only policy that is enabled here. If we go to the Windows Update, we will see here that now the GPO clients only policy is the relevant policy here. If we go here, we see that we have two policies that could have different settings. So this policy is for the whole domain and is enabled, and this is also enabled, but it's not only relevant only for the clients. So you can see here that we have auto download and schedule the install. What you see here now is on the client you have auto download and schedule the install, and on the domain controller you have notify for download and notify for the install. So you see that this works. The group policy will work from here to here. This one is the first that will be applied, and then it goes down to here and here and here, and this is the last one of these group policies that will be applied here. What we can also try now is we also have group policies, so-called local group policies here, if we start the group policy editor on the local machine. So if we go here and to Windows Components, Windows Update, and say configure automatic updates and say disabled here, and here by the resultant set of policy we refresh the query, and then we have three policies with the same setting with different settings. And here you can see that the local group policy is disabled here, because something that comes from the domain tree forest here has a higher priority than several values set in the local group policy here. So this can't override settings from here. If I go to the Windows firewall here, I see that it is on, but as you remember before, I disabled it in the default domain policy, but sometimes there is a bug and it does not work at the first try. So I give it another try here, go to the Windows firewall for advanced security, disable this here, apply, disable this here, apply, and turn this also off too. Apply it, okay, and let us check what the domain controller does. It is off here by a group policy, and here we can do a GP update force but we have to use this one here. And then we will check it again, and now you see it works. So I hope you could see that the lower, or how you would call it, this policy here has a higher priority than this here, if it affects the same settings. And the local policy will be overwritten through any policy here from the Active Directory. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope seeing you soon in the next one.